Welcome to the Sporesight monthly webinar. Appreciate everybody attending, and always feel free to go to our website, sporesight.com. If you're watching this, you probably know that, but Pro Resources has all our past webinars and other resources for inspectors. So as you know, our goal is to provide you guys as much help and information that will allow you to grow your business and have the best business possible. So today's topic is going to be navigating insurance for home inspectors and mold testing, and we'll kind of throw in other environmental testing as well, because I think being able to do all those tests for your clients is important for your revenue, as well as providing the best service possible for your clients. I'm just going to skip through that. Our presenter today, you've got me, you've seen me before, Jim Bates. I'm the director of sales for Sporesight. Aaron Menlove is a great guy. He's one of the top insurance brokers in the country, and he focuses on home inspection. His company is InspectorPro. I apologize. I see them, at pretty much all the conferences I go to, and I've got a few of their InspectorPro T-shirts that they give out at those. Aaron and I we're next door neighbors at booths in the last conference in Texas, and I got to know him really well. Super nice guy, super knowledgeable. So we're just going to do a Q&A as we go through this. We've got some questions lined up on our deck as we present. I'll kind of read that, and then
Jim, we are famous for the T-shirts. Yes.
You guys, those T-shirts, your booth when you have all the T-shirt makers is colossal, and it's like the hive of activity. So it really is crazy. So if you're at one of those shows, make sure you go up, say hi to Aaron and get a T-shirt. So good tip there. So Aaron's been in the industry for 12 years, focusing on home inspectors. So, very knowledgeable. We'll go through these questions. I'll read the question, Aaron will respond, and then we'll maybe chat about it a little bit. If you have a question, go ahead and put it in chat, and we'll field the questions as we go through. So when you have a question, write it in the chat, and then we'll get to those questions. If we don't get through our whole deck, the goal here is just to answer questions. So if we don't get through our whole deck, we'll cut it off at 20 minutes, but we can always have another one of these. So hopefully we get lots of questions. We've asked some inspectors to give us questions, which is where we came up with those that we've got, but keep those questions coming. So with that, quick things about Sporesight and TechSight. TechSight's the name of our parent company. Sporesight's a vertical within the larger company called TechSight. We really are world leaders in creating artificial intelligence through using machine learning, computer vision, digital microscopy, which is microscopes that digitize images that allow us to use our artificial intelligence on those. So let's skip down. We do have 3 verticals within TechSight. Sporesight, as you know, is the environmental and mold vertical. TechSight itself does human analysis, and we are collaborating with the Mayo Clinic as our partner there, which is nice. Probably, certainly one of, if not the preeminent human health company in the world. There was an article in Forbes, I think a week or 2 ago, and it said they were the #1 AI forward hospital in the world, which was pretty exciting to know that we're working with them on developing lots of tests and analyses. Our animal or veterinary line is called VetScan Imagist. We have a global partner, which is the #1 animal health company in the world. The name of that company is Zoetis. It used to be Pfizer Animal Health. And we are all over the world doing tens of thousands of samples, monthly, weekly. So just a little bit about us. So you are in very good hands. Our products are exceptionally used the world over by top companies, hospitals, and I'll leave it at that. Some credentials for our lab director. Dylan McIntosh is our lab director. He's a certified spore analyst. We are a licensed lab in Texas, which is the only state in the US that requires a lab to be licensed. Those are very stringent requirements to meet that. So we've been licensed, I think, for about a year now in Texas. We're working toward our MLAP, and we'll be getting that, I think, sometime in 2024, but we're actively getting that right now. We do make a commitment to inspectors is just, providing the best possible product in the industry and the best service. So service. So with that, we'll jump into the questions. So this is one, of course, I love, but I know Aaron laughed when I brought this up. But the question is, should I offer mold and environmental testing, for my clients when I'm doing home inspections?
Yeah, I mean, looking at this, absolutely, Jim. On my side, we do the insurance for the inspections, the mold, air sampling, and whatever you as an inspector can do to broaden your horizon or get more business. Don't leave money on the table, right? Someone wants some other services, you definitely want to be offering that. And it's something that I know a lot of guys are referring out right now because they're afraid of it or something else like that, but you shouldn't be. It should be something to scare you in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah, I mean, that's really important. Like, I talk to a lot of inspectors and they're afraid. So they sub it out to somebody else. And then they realize, as we talk about it, like, I should be doing this. It's, nothing to be afraid of. We've got our starter kit, which makes it really inexpensive and accessible for inspectors to start doing mold testing, without spending a bunch of money. And in fact, when you get your starter kit, you'll make money on your very first job. You'll be in the black. Let's see. So number 2, what type of liability or risk is associated with mold and environmental testing? So what do they need to be concerned or thinking about?
So it's obviously a little bit different than a regular inspection. You're doing a specific service. As far as insurance goes, it's an endorsement to the policy. So we have basic insurance coverage for you on your basic SOPs or standards of practice. And then on the side, on this little endorsement, we're going to add in mold and air sampling testing for you for these specific services. So we recognize that, and we recognize what you're doing, and we recognize liability coverage with that. So it's, as far as extra liability, which I get a lot of guys concerned about, well, I don't want to take on the extra liability. There's a lot of folks in this industry that are looking to get into it, not sure about getting into it. And boy, I don't want to become an inspector, a home inspector, because that's a liability issue, right? And I still deal with that, right? But that's why we're here. That's why we have insurance for not only home inspectors, but mold and air sampling testing, right? So we're going to do both of those. And I just don't want guys to miss out on that as far as, good heavens, if you've been doing inspections and you've been subbing out your air sampling or mold sampling for the last 2 or 3 years, how much money is that you could have had yourself, right? It seems rather silly on my side not to, as an inspector, to pick that up, take it, right?
Yeah, you're at the home. If somebody needs it and it's appropriate for them, it's great. You should be doing it and being able to make that money yourself. And you're there, you can get it done rather than referring somebody else out that's got to come back on another trip, make another appointment.
Yeah,
like that.
One other note here, Jim, on the liability. In insurance, we look at liability as far as the cost involved, right, for different product. And the cost involved for an errors and omissions, general liability, standard inspection product, $1,500 to $2,000 a year type product is probably where you're looking at most of the product and that cost range. And so you're taking that on and be an inspector, but then mold or air sampling testing is $150 a year, right? So if you're looking at it on a liability issue, you're already in the industry on an insurance basis for $1,500 to $2,000. What's $150 at that point? It just seems silly not to do it, right?
Yeah, that makes so much sense. You're already out there doing it, so you've already done most of the liability. You're already assuming it. So for an extra $150 a year. Yeah. So what is that? $12 a month. I'm not very good at math in my head, but yeah, for let's call it $15 a month to get that. It was the endorsement, right? To get the mold endorsement. It's just, you could easily make that up many, many times over. And we had, in one of our other videos, we had an inspector, and he showed through environmentals, he was giving him like an extra 2 months of inspections or 4 months of inspections a year just through the environmentals he was offering. So yeah, absolutely. You're already out there doing the job. This is just minimal, extra cost and risk. Let's see. Are there any kind of, exclusions or limitations when you get that endorsement, or any other things to be aware of?
There are different insurance products in the industry, right? And some of them may have sublimits or lower limits for endorsements, right? So you may have a coverage for your, errors and omissions and your general liability of $1 million, and you may not know you think you're getting an endorsement for mold or pest or something like this, and it might have a $100,000 limit on the mold, right? And it might have something like that. And so the policies that we work with, they don't do that, but just be aware there's lots of insurance plans. And if you're getting one, make sure that it's going to be covering you for the full limits as well as the policy.
Okay, so that's kind of important too. Like there's different, you've got the policy and then you've got the endorsement. So the different types of policies would be something also to be aware of. And
and you'd want to talk to your insurance agent about that to make sure you're getting what you want as far as the coverage on that.
Very cool. Okay, here's one we kind of covered just a second ago. How much does it cost? Roughly $150 a year for the endorsement. Do each, say you're doing radon as well, and maybe, some kind of asbestos or water, do each one of those need their own endorsement, or is there a blanket kind of endorsement for that?
There is a blanket endorsement that we offer, right? So it's kind of the standard that most guys have as far as their endorsements: mold, pest, septic water, pool, spa, lead, radon, EFIS, and something like that. I might get, $250 for all of it, right?
Yeah.
And so a lot of guys will, if they're a bigger office, multiple inspectors, they're going to be doing a lot of these different services. It makes it kind of a savings for them to do that on a bundle endorsement. Yeah.
Okay. So here's a question from one of our viewers, Daryl. Can mold coverage be purchased separately? So let's see. No company I've met with will cover mold sampling.
So that's a good question. The question is, can you purchase just mold inspection coverage versus inspection SOP standard inspection coverage as well, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I don't have anything to date I'm a brokerage and I have access to a lot of different insurance policy plan underwriting plans. I don't have anything to date which is offering just a mold inspection policy only, right? And everything that I have is a basic policy that you would get and an endorsement with mold included, right? Doesn't mean it can't happen, but I think in the insurance world, it's very niche oriented. And I think inspections is niche oriented. Getting mold insurance is very niche oriented. If now you're just going to do mold on its own without inspections, general inspections, I guess that's a niche of a niche, right? It's very small. And I'm guessing that's why there's just not any policy that I've seen offering that per se.
Okay. So as a home inspector, could you do standalone? So let's say you're a home inspector and somebody calls up and they want you to do some mold sampling, mold testing for them as a standalone, but you're not doing the whole home inspection. Does that home inspection policy and the endorsement you've got cover that?
Yes. So we have agreements in the industry. You're aware of standards of practice. You want to have every client is going to get a pre-inspection agreement of the services you're going to provide up front. And I have the regular inspection agreement, which we provide for clients, right, for a regular inspection. I have the regular inspection plus mold agreement, right? And then I also have standalone mold only inspection agreements. So it is possible that if they want you to just come and do a mold inspection, that you can do that on a standalone basis, have coverage with us, and have an agreement to perform that service too.
So they could, if they were going to do the full-blown home inspection with the mold, they'd have an agreement for that. And if it was just, you were just going to do the mold, you'd have a different agreement from that. And you could get agreements for you, or their insurance provider would provide those agreements.
And the agreements are these pre-inspection agreements are very important. You want to be very clear with your client on the exact services you're providing. And that's why we do that, so that everybody understands the scope of services that you're doing and what you're performing for that particular service. So, yeah. Okay.
That makes a ton of sense. Yeah, I'm learning as we go. So a lot of this stuff so the details is what exactly why we wanted you to come. All right. So if there is a claim, what's the process to support documentation? What would somebody want to be aware of?
So let's say you're a client of mine and John Smith is upset about your inspection 10 months ago, Jim, and you missed the mold behind the laundry room, right? You did mold inspections, but you were looking at other places, right? And you didn't see anything there, and it didn't come across any you came across. So now you have a claim or an issue that's come up. In a situation like this, you would be calling the insurance agent. You would let me know about the problem or issue you're dealing with Mr. Smith, and I would get your information, as far as your business name, obviously. We would get the details on when the inspection was performed, the client's name you're dealing with. I would put that information that same day off to my adjusters, right? And the adjusters would be contacting you within probably an hour or two of that contact that I sent to them. They'd be contacting you on an email. And the contact would be, hey, Jim, send us over your report, send us over your agreement, any communication you've had with Mr. Smith, and let's get involved here. And that would go to the adjusters, and probably within 1 or 2 days, you would have Adam or Sam or Shmuel, one of my adjusters that are attorneys, on the phone, and they would be working with you based on SOP, defending you on your services that you provided and going over that word for word. So it's something that's very easy to do. It's something that happens very quick, and you would be getting responses within a week on very quickly on what's going to happen here.
That's awesome. So it's just, they contact you, you guys just kind of take the ball and run with it.
Yep, we'll be sending it to the my capital claims management, my adjusters that I work with. They're very professional. They've been doing this for a long time, and they know your SOPs, and they're there to work with you to defend you and take care of issues. So, yep.
Awesome. All right, let's see. What should I make sure the client is aware of before offering mold testing? From an insurance point of view, I guess is kind of the contract is part of it. You're talking to them, but yeah, where would you go from this one?
I think it's probably a good idea to have people to really read it and look at it. I know a lot of these agreements that you get, people are just scanning through it and they may not go over anything, right? You want to let them know that this is just a service, a visual service. It's non-invasive, that you're going to be taking this to a lab. You're going to tell them what the report is and Sporesight, and this is kind of what your process is. A lot of times people get the impression that you're somehow Superman and you're going to catch everything that could be behind walls or that might not even come up on the mold test, right?
Right.
And so that you're limited to what you can find based on your services. And so it's a good idea to go over the pre-inspection agreement and also the report when you get done with clients. It's a good idea.
Okay. Let's see, we've got another question. Let me read it. Came through in an email. Let's see. When we're at a house that we contact, what should we use or say? Because standards state that we don't test for mold or environmental issues. So that would be like, I think he's saying like if it's a state and they have like a mold specific, what you're saying to the people requirement, this is an evaluation. I don't know what the right word would be, but versus inspection. I don't know if that makes sense, but if there's states that have some more stringent requirements.
Every state, it seems like some states have no requirements, right? Or standards of practice on inspections at all. Some states have standards of practice requirements and some have mold requirements, right? So you'd want to be following your state guidelines. The agreement that I talked about, the pre-inspection agreement that we send out for services in that state and the mold, they are tied to that state. So it will be explaining the services as well based on the state guidelines that you have for your needs there. So you would want to follow along with the pre-inspection agreement. And it's hard for me to get in all 50 states here because they're all a little bit different. But yeah, you want to make sure you're getting an agreement signed stipulating your scope of services to cover that.
Okay. We're 1 minute away from the cutoff. So we've got a couple more in our deck. I think I've got all the, let's see, look like I've got one more question. Well, I'm just reading this question. I really want to offer house environmental. So it's just, I'll read it out loud. So I really want to offer household environmental allergen sampling, like cat, like an animal or something in the home. My wife is highly allergic. I'm not sure if Sporesight has that. Do you? So question for you. Also, what would be covered under the mold inspection endorsement? So I'll take the first part of that, just in regard to sampling. So the Sporesight report really reports on using mold concentrations in the air to find potential water leaks or high moisture areas, things like that. And that's causing the mold growth. So if we look at it as a forward looking at that, we do report on things like animal dander, which isn't really a direct correlation to allergies. And we wouldn't say you can say yes, no, because you're finding this, it means you're allergic from that or not. But it could be helpful. It could be an indicator, but we could never say, oh, we're spotting an allergy. So as far as, looking at as additional kind of inspection endorsement, I'm not sure if that's asking, could, I'll say health versus just mold be there. It wouldn't seem like if you were had a mold endorsement, that would maybe cross over into allergenics for pet dander or something like that.
The policy endorsement for mold and air sampling is really quite broad, right? Okay. And so there's nothing that I have on that stipulating that you couldn't look for these other things as well, right? If it's something that became standard in the industry. At one point, mold wasn't something standard in the industry, right? And these things get started from somewhere, right? So whoever the client is, and you can call me up directly and I could go over this specific endorsement word for word. But reading my stuff in our coverage, I believe it is fairly broad and would probably have coverage for what you're describing.
Wow, very interesting. I was trying to think of something to go along with that, but I looked at this next question and it set in my mind, if I think of it, I'll go back. Does the insurance require you to have specific training for the coverage you get? If yes, where could I get it?
It doesn't require on insurance. I'm not requiring guys to do a mold training course or anything like that. There are a few out there that we do require, like EFIS, but mold is not one of them. Therefore, if you're going to go through Sporesight or another one, we would encourage you to do training on it to be professional, right? But as far as insurance goes, I'm not requiring that.
Okay, yeah, and for people that are looking for additional knowledge, we always encourage inspectors to, I always say you're an inch deep and a mile wide, but knowing more is very helpful. And I'd encourage every inspector to get as much knowledge as they can. We have some very basic things on our sporesight.com. Under the pro resources, we have some videos and field guides, things like that. InterNACHI has the IAQ2 course. If you're a member of InterNACHI, you can take that course. It's an excellent course. ASHI has a course as well. I think those would be two good courses to look at if you're a member of either one of those organizations.
As the insurance provider, we strongly encourage everybody to do as many and professional courses to become a better inspector. So, yeah.
Absolutely. All right. Last one in the deck. Let's see. How do I add, if I want to get the endorsement, how do I add that to my policy?
If I'm your provider, you would just give me a call or an email to add it. I'd send you a little invoice and it would be added. It would probably take about a day, maybe less than a day.
Okay. Let's see. I've got one more question. Is there retroactive insurance for previous inspections before having insurance? I've done some old inspections a month ago. Would they be covered? So I think they're saying if I got it today, does it cover anything before that I've done if I haven't had a claim or anything on it?
So the question is about retro coverage, right? And this could be for mold or just regular SOP inspection, right? Back and forth, it could cover for both, but you need to be carrying E&O coverage in order to have past coverage. General liability coverage is for accidents, job site. It's going to cover for stuff that happens now, a claim that happens now, right? E&O coverages could be something that happened in the past, right? And so you want to make sure, in order for me to cover you for past inspections, you would have to have E&O coverage already. You'd have to be current on your current insurance. There can't be any breaks of coverage there. And you would also have to have mold coverage from your previous inspections, right?
Yeah.
And then moving forward, I could do the same for you.
Okay. So that does it for all our questions. That's been awesome. Aaron, I don't know if you've got anything, that we've missed that you would feel is important or want to tell anybody?
I think the biggest thing is just my experience is guys being afraid or nervous getting into this. And I just, I tell guys, don't be afraid of it, to embrace it, that this is something that if you find yourself referring a lot of this type of business out, that it's maybe something that you should take on, that you can do it. You're already an inspector, and groups like, there's training out there, and there's great, associations to handle your, lab work, and it can be done. So don't pass it up. I would say don't pass up the buck, take it and make some more money.
Awesome. Yeah. Very good advice. Well, thank you so much, Aaron, for being here with us. And thanks everybody. We've had a really good attendance, and yeah, I appreciate it. And feel free, everybody, to reach out to me, our other account manager, Devin Kennedy, and, Aaron's at InspectorPro. So, feel free to reach out to us. Have a great afternoon, and thank you for attending. See everyone later.
Bye-bye.